Hi everybody, it's Lauren, and I'm doing this video about dark decks for my friend here on YouTube, Jose, that asked me if I would do such a video. I really don't know that I'm the person to ask for this, but I'll go through the decks I have and I'll give my opinion on working with them. Also, I want to say that I heard Veronica Jude recently mention the Shadow Tarot, which seems to be a dark deck. You might want to check that out. I think that's a Game Crafter. Check out her channel because she will be doing a review on it soon, she said. So, okay, now when Jose and I were commenting, there were a couple of things that we did agree on, and one was that the Bohemian Gothic Tarot is really more of a fun deck, and, you know, I don't really consider it a dark deck. But it's a good deck, and it gives good readings. There are a lot of nuances in the cards. If you look carefully, you'll find lots of little things to look at. And it's interesting and sometimes very amusing. Okay, the other thing that we agreed on was the different vampire decks. Now there's the Ian Daniels deck, which I know is loved by many. I don't use it a lot because it just sort of has a certain, I don't know, I feel it's a little silly in a way for me. But, I mean, Ian Daniels did a good job on it, so it really comes down to what appeals to a person and what doesn't. But I have to say, when I've worked with this deck, it has a tender voice, I feel, and kind of a healing voice. I could see why people really like it. I think it can be helpful in certain situations for sure. And the book is very good. Now, also, you know, we had talked about the Robert Place Vampire Tarot, which is very different. I was just, you know, showing this in a video the other day. So, one of the big differences is this Robert Place deck is based on the Bram Stoker story, which, now if you know that story, you'll know that the vampires are not the star of the show in that story. It's called Dracula. But rather it is the people that are committed to fighting that parasitic force. That's what that book is about. So, of course, now that's going to make this deck very different. The deck seems to now be out of print, but it comes with a book that Robert had written. However, I feel that if you read the Bram Stoker book, you will get a better feel for what this deck is really saying. And if you have a hard time reading it, if you have a hard time reading the cards, that will help. Reading the book will help. Also, you know, remember these cards tend to be a bit in shadow. Robert did use images of Dracula from different movies. This would be like a Bela Lugosi style Dracula, and he also has the Nosferatu style of Dracula in this deck too. It's a strong deck with a strong voice. I enjoy it very much. And I find it meaningful, really meaningful. Okay, so I want to talk about a couple other decks. This is the Royo Dark Tarot by Luis Royo. This image here would be the Fool card. So now Luis Royo did not create this as a tarot deck. Los Scarabeo went into his pre-existing artwork and created this deck, and it's important to know that. So here is the backing. It's more of a fantasy style artwork, so you'll see a lot of beautiful women in the deck, often in challenging situations. Death. Here's the wheel. And here is the Lover's card. Now, this is not the type of Lover's card I really enjoy. It's more of a Beauty and the Beast feel. And I do want to say, though, I feel that there is a value in working with these types of images, especially if you're trying to heal something, maybe abuses or situations where you felt that you were led into or victimized in a certain way. I think that there's potential in this deck for healing that. Here's the High Priestess. And the Five of Pentacles. So I do get surprisingly accurate readings from this deck. And I say surprisingly because it wasn't really created, the paintings, as I said, weren't created as a tarot deck, but it's very good to read with. Okay, I do want to mention another deck here, the Singing Serpent Tarot. It's not really dark, but there is sort of that flavor to it. It's pen and ink, therefore it is a black and white deck, and I know not everyone likes black and white decks. I use them sometime, not all the time. But I think the artwork in this is just so beautiful. This is by Eleanor Boyce. It has a bit of a Japanese influence to the art style and a little bit of an Art Deco influence as well. The presence of the serpent is in each card. And my readings from this deck have been, the only word I can really use is helpful. They've been honest and helpful. And a couple of times when I was looking for a real answer to a problem I was having, this deck kind of helped me clear the space and clear my mind, and I was able to get what it was, the information that I was looking for. So I do like this deck very much. Okay, let's see what else. Let's talk about the Ludi Lescott Tarot. This is a very unique deck. And again, I would say that a lot of these cards are in shadow. There's something special about this deck, and I can't explain it, but when I work with it, I often will have a situation where old memories or emotions will come up to then be looked at and healed. So I don't know why it does that for me, but it does. It has a certain effect. So I would say this is a very healing deck. And again, I know, not everybody's going to like the artwork. There is a lot going on in the cards, and it's busy. And I don't use it a lot. But when I do, I often will get a very valuable reading from it. Okay, and I'll show you one more. Here's the Strength card. Let's see what else. Yeah, let's talk about the Deviant Moon. I do consider this a dark deck. It is very creative and unusual. I don't feel that it has a healing voice, but it's very thought-provoking. There is very little nature in this deck. It's one of the things that makes it seem dark. And if you see any trees in the background, they're always in their winter form, so there's no green or no leaves, Oh, this is an interesting Five of Pentacles. It's a lady of the evening who has come out of a difficult situation, and there she is stuck on the streets at night with no clothes and nowhere to go. So I don't have his big book, but it would probably be great to read it. There's the Lovers, the Chariot, and Temperance. Okay, let's see. Well, I guess if you like the Marseille, then there is the Tarot Noir. It's N-O-I-R. And it's a darker style Marseille. It's a very large deck, so you need plenty of space, to read with it. Strength. There's my little sweet girl here, my Valentine, just peeking through the plants here. My cat. The Magician. The Fool. And the Hanged Man. Okay, one more deck I want to talk about. And it is not a tarot deck. It is an oracle deck. And I guess, I don't know if I should call it dark or not. I'm going to let you decide. It is the Fallen Angels Tarot, and it's actually, the Fallen Angels Oracle, and it's quite a beautiful deck. It It has a lot of nature in it and a lot of statuary. It does have a keyword, but I often find myself going to the book to work with it because she doesn't usually come over when I'm making a video. I'm sorry. She's just so sweet. I can't ignore her. As I said, I usually work with the book on with this deck, and I don't use it a lot, I have to be honest. But it has sort of a really old feel to it, and an old voice. And I guess I tend to do one-card readings with this one. So I'm going to ask everyone that is watching, anyone that's watching, if you have some recommendations of dark decks for Jose or for anyone else that cares about that. I would really appreciate you, leaving some comments down below and making some suggestions. Meanwhile, thank you very much and stay well, my friends.